Captain Jinho stood on the bridge of the Harmony, watching the massive space station grow larger in the viewing screen. His heart pounded with excitement. After centuries of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, they finally had their answer. Not only were there aliens out there, but thousands of different species living together in peace. The station was unlike anything Jinho had ever seen. It was enormous, easily the size of a small moon. Lights sparkled across its surface like stars, and ships of all shapes and sizes moved around it like fish in the ocean. Some ships had wings, others were perfect spheres, and some looked like nothing Jinho could describe. "Captain, we're receiving a welcome message," said Hana from her station. She was the ship's science officer and the smartest person Jinho had ever met. For the past 10 years, she had been studying the alien signals that Earth had picked up. Now she would finally get to meet the beings who sent them. "Put it on screen," Jinho said. A face appeared on the viewing screen. It looked almost human, but the skin was blue and the eyes were much larger. The creature smiled, showing small white teeth. "Welcome, humans of Earth," the alien said in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Threll of the Ventari people. We are pleased to receive your delegation. Please follow the guide ships to Docking Bay 7. Two small ships appeared beside the Harmony, their lights blinking in a friendly pattern. Nari, the ship's pilot, followed them carefully. She was the best pilot Earth had, which was why she had been chosen for this mission. "I can't believe this is really happening," whispered Taiho from the engineering station. He had spent months making sure the Harmony would work perfectly for this moment. As they moved closer to the station, Jinho thought about how humanity had reached this point. 10 years ago, scientists in Korea had found something buried deep underground. It was technology, but not human technology. After years of study, Dr. Hannah and her team had figured out how to use it. The technology showed humans how to travel faster than light, making it possible to reach the stars. The same technology had contained a message, coordinates to this place, and an invitation to join something called the Galactic Council. It had taken Earth's nations 5 years to agree to work together and build the Harmony, another year to train the crew. And now, finally, they were here. The Harmony docked smoothly in the bay. Through the windows, Jinho could see aliens of all types moving around the station. Some walked on 2 legs like humans, others on 4 or 6. Some floated in the air. One creature looked like it was made entirely of light. "Okay, team," Jinho said, turning to face his crew. "This is what we trained for. We represent all of humanity today. Let's make Earth proud." The crew stood and gathered their equipment. Besides Jinho, Hana, Nari, and Taiho, there were 3 others. Suji was a young scientist who specialized in old civilizations. Minho was the security officer, and Doyun was the medical doctor, just in case anyone got sick. The airlock opened, and Ambassador Threll stood waiting with several other aliens. Up close, Jinho could see that Threll was taller than a human, maybe 7 feet. The ambassador bowed, and Jinho bowed back. "Welcome to Valorum Station," Threll said. "You must be tired from your journey. Please, follow me." They walked through corridors that seemed to go on forever. The station was beautiful. The walls showed images of different planets and star systems. Aliens of all types passed by, and many stopped to stare at the humans with curious eyes. Some smiled, others made gestures that might have been greetings. "How many species are in the council?" Hana asked, her eyes wide with wonder. "Currently, we have representatives from 8,412 species," Threll said proudly. "Some species have only joined in the last few years. Others have been members for millions of years." "Millions," Taiho whispered. Humans had only existed as a civilization for a few thousand years. They reached a large chamber with seats arranged in a circle, rising up like a stadium. Thousands of aliens sat in those seats, all watching as the human delegation entered. Jinho felt his mouth go dry. He had given speeches before, but never to an audience like this. Ambassador Threll led them to the center of the chamber. A holographic display appeared in the air, ready to show whatever information they needed. "Honored Council," Threll announced, "I present the delegation from Earth, seeking membership in the Galactic Council." Jinho stepped forward. He had practiced this speech 100 times. "Thank you for welcoming us," he began. "Humanity is young compared to many of you, but we are eager to learn. We come in peace, hoping to share knowledge and friendship with all species." The speech went well. Jinho talked about Earth's history, its cultures, and its hopes for the future. Hana showed pictures of Earth's continents and oceans. The council members seemed interested, asking questions about human biology and technology. Then came the formal part. Jinho had to provide Earth's exact location and its official designation in any records they had found. "Our planet is located in the outer arm of the Milky Way galaxy," Jinho said, reading the coordinates from his data pad. "In the ancient technology we discovered, the planet was referred to as Karen." The moment the word left his mouth, everything changed. The entire chamber went silent. Not the polite silence of listening, but the shocked silence of horror. Ambassador Threll's blue face turned almost white. All around the chamber, aliens began standing up, their expressions showing fear. "Did you say Karen?" Threll whispered, his voice shaking. "Yes," Hana said, confused. "That was the name in the old records we found. Why? Is something wrong?" Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed. Ambassador Threll backed away from the humans, his hands shaking. "Security!" Threll shouted. "Secure the delegation immediately, and someone contact the defense fleet." Armed guards rushed into the chamber from all sides. They surrounded the human delegation, their weapons drawn but not pointed directly at them. Jinho raised his hands, trying to show they meant no harm. "Wait! What's happening?" Jinho demanded. "We came in peace." But no one answered. The council members were fleeing the chamber in panic. Some were shouting in languages the humans couldn't understand. Others were making calls on their communication devices, their voices urgent and afraid. Threll looked at Jinho with an expression of pure terror. "You claim to come from Karen, the Crucible. That's impossible. That world was destroyed. It has to be destroyed." "I don't understand," Hana said. "What is Karen? What does it mean?" "Take them to the detention quarters," Threll ordered the guards. "Maximum security, but treat them carefully. We need to understand what this means before we decide what to do with them." The guards moved forward, and though they were gentle, it was clear the humans had no choice. As they were led from the chamber, Jinho looked back at the chaos they had somehow caused. Everything had been going so well. Humanity's first contact with alien life was supposed to be a moment of joy and celebration. Instead, just by speaking Earth's ancient name, they had turned it into a nightmare. What had humanity stumbled into? And why did the mere mention of their home planet's name cause such fear across the galaxy? The guards brought the human delegation to a set of rooms that looked more like a luxury hotel than a prison. There were comfortable beds, a kitchen with strange but edible food, and large windows showing the stars outside. But the door was locked, and armed guards stood outside at all times. Jinho paced back and forth across the main room. "This doesn't make sense. We gave them our location, said one word, and suddenly we're prisoners." "Not just any word," Hana said quietly. She was sitting at a table, her computer screen glowing in front of her. "Karen. I've been trying to translate it using the language databases we brought. So far, I've found matches in 17 different alien languages." "What does it mean?" asked Suji, the young archaeologist. Hana's face was pale. "In every single language, it's a curse word. A very, very bad one. The kind of word you never say in polite company." "Our planet's name is a curse word?" Taiho said, shocked. It's more than that, Hana continued, typing rapidly. The direct translation seems to be the crucible or the forge of pain, but the emotional meaning is much worse. It's like saying hell or nightmare or the place we don't speak of. Minho, the security officer, looked out the window. I've been watching the station since we got here. Ships are leaving in huge numbers, and military vessels are arriving to replace them. Jinho joined him at the window. Minho was right. Dozens of sleek warships were taking positions around the station. They were different from the peaceful trading vessels they had seen before. These ships had weapons, lots of them. They're not just guarding the station, Nari observed. Look at their formation. They're preparing for war. But with who? Doyun asked. We're just 7 humans. What threat could we possibly be? The question hung in the air, unanswered. For 3 days, they waited. Food was delivered by guards who wouldn't speak to them. Their requests to talk to Ambassador Threll were ignored. Hana spent every waking hour trying to hack into the station's database to find answers. Taiho helped her, using his engineering knowledge to bypass security systems. On the 3rd night, they finally broke through. I'm in, Hana whispered, though there was no one to hear them but each other. I have access to the historical archives. Everyone gathered around her screen. She typed in Karen and waited. The results made them all go cold. 50,000 years ago, Hana read aloud, the galaxy was ruled by an empire called the Destroyers. They came from a planet they named Karen, which means the Crucible, because they believed suffering made them strong. For 10,000 years, they conquered world after world. They enslaved entire species. They destroyed any civilization that resisted them. 10,000 years of war, Jinho breathed. How many species did they kill? Hana scrolled through the records. Hundreds, maybe thousands. The records say that back then, the galaxy had maybe 12,000 intelligent species. By the time the destroyers were finished, only 4,000 remained. Suji leaned closer to the screen. What happened to them? How were they stopped? It took the combined effort of 50 different species to fight them, Hana said, reading quickly. They called themselves the Velnar Coalition. The war lasted for 1,000 years. Finally, the coalition managed to destroy Karen itself. They scorched the entire planet, making sure no life could ever exist there again. But Earth has life, Taiho said. Humans evolved there. Animals, plants, oceans full of creatures. It's not a dead world. I know, Hana said. That's what doesn't make sense. According to this, Karen should be a burned cinder floating in space. But Earth is alive. It has to be a different planet. Except the coordinates match exactly, Nari said quietly. I checked them myself. The location they have for Karen in these records is exactly where Earth is. No one spoke. The implications were too terrible to put into words. A knock on the door made them all jump. It opened, and an old alien entered. She looked like a reptile that learned to walk upright, with green scales and bright yellow eyes. She moved slowly, leaning on a walking stick. The guards started to follow her in, but she waved them away. Leave us, she said in a creaky voice. These humans won't hurt an old woman. The guards hesitated, but obeyed, closing the door behind her. My name is Myron, the old alien said, settling into a chair with a sigh. I am a counselor, and I am very, very old. Old enough to remember stories my grandmother told me when I was young. Stories about what? Jinho asked carefully. About the destroyers, Mirren said. About Karen. The official records you've been reading don't tell the whole truth. They can't. The terror was too great. Even now, 50,000 years later, we don't like to speak of it. She looked at each of them with her ancient eyes. My grandmother was alive during the final war. She was just a child, but she remembered. She told me how the destroyers would arrive at a planet and give them a choice: surrender and become slaves, or resist and be destroyed. Most chose slavery. It was better than death. "What did they do to the slaves?" Suji asked softly. "Terrible things," Mirren said. "They believed that suffering made people stronger. So they made their slaves suffer constantly. They experimented on them, changed them, tried to create perfect warriors. Most died. Those who survived were broken in spirit." Minho clenched his fists. "Why would anyone do that?" "Because they were raised that way," Mirren explained. "On Karen, children were taught that weakness was the greatest sin. They were forced to compete with each other for food, for shelter, for the right to survive. Only the strongest, the cruelest, the most ruthless were allowed to live. It created a culture of monsters." "How were they finally defeated?" Jinho asked. Mirren smiled sadly. "The same way all empires fall eventually. They turned on each other. The destroyers trusted no one, not even their own people. When the Velnar coalition attacked Karen itself, the destroyers' generals spent more time fighting each other than fighting the enemy. Each one wanted to be the supreme ruler. In the end, the coalition didn't have to destroy them. They destroyed themselves." "And the planet?" Hana asked. "The coalition wanted to make sure the destroyers could never return," Mirren said. "So they used weapons that burned the entire surface. They poisoned the soil and boiled the oceans. Then they did something I don't fully understand even now. They used technology to push the planet out of its orbit, sending it drifting through space. The idea was that it would float forever in the darkness between stars, a dead memorial to the galaxy's darkest age. But somehow it ended up where Earth is now," Nari said. "And life grew again." Mirren nodded slowly. "Which should be impossible, but here you are, living proof that it happened." She studied them carefully. "You seem like good people, kind, curious, nothing like the destroyers." "We're not them," Jinho said firmly. "Humans evolved naturally on Earth. We have our own history, our own cultures. We've never heard of the destroyers until now." "I believe you," Mirren said. "But the Council is terrified. They think maybe the destroyers found a way to survive, to return, or that their evil somehow infected the planet itself, and you carry it in your blood." "That's insane," Taiho protested. "Is it?" Mirren asked. "The destroyers came from that world. Now you come from that same world. Can you prove that you're not them, reborn after 50,000 years?" The question silenced them all. How could they prove something like that? Myron stood up slowly. "There will be a trial tomorrow. The Council will decide what to do with you and your species. I wanted you to know the truth before then, so you understand why they're so afraid." She paused at the door. "For what it's worth, I hope you survive this. The galaxy could use some hope. We've been living in fear of the destroyer's return for so long that we've forgotten how to trust." After she left, the humans sat in silence, the weight of 50,000 years of history pressing down on them. Somewhere out there, 12 defensive fleets were moving toward Earth, ready to destroy it if the Council gave the order. And tomorrow, 7 humans would have to convince thousands of terrified aliens that humanity deserved to live. The Council chamber was packed with more aliens than Jinho had ever seen in one place. Every seat was filled, and holographic projections showed thousands more watching from across the galaxy. This wasn't just a trial for 7 humans. This was a trial for all of humanity. The humans stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by guards. Above them, a tall alien in dark robes looked down with cold eyes. This was Commander Veln, the prosecutor who would argue against humanity. "Let us begin," announced the council leader, an ancient being that looked like living crystal. "Commander Veln, present your case." Veln stepped forward, and his voice boomed through the chamber. "Honorable Council, the evidence is clear and terrifying. These beings claim to come from a planet they call Earth, but by their own admission, that planet occupies the exact same location as Karen, the cursed world of the destroyers. Images appeared in the air above them, showing a beautiful green and blue planet, Earth. For 50,000 years, Veln continued, we have lived with the knowledge that Karen was destroyed. We were told that world could never harbor life again. Yet now life not only exists there, but has produced an intelligent species that has developed space travel. How is this possible unless the destroyers somehow survived and rebuilt? Murmurs of fear rippled through the chamber. Perhaps these humans are the destroyers themselves, returned after millennia of hiding, Veln said. Or perhaps they are the destroyers' descendants, carrying the same evil in their blood. Either way, they represent the greatest threat our galaxy has faced in 50,000 years. We are not the destroyers, Jinho shouted, unable to stay silent any longer. Silence, Veln roared. You will speak when given permission. He turned back to the council. I propose immediate quarantine of the Sol system. No human shall be allowed to leave their planet. And we must seriously consider whether that planet should be sterilized once more to prevent whatever evil lurks there from spreading. You're talking about genocide, Hana cried out. The council leader raised a crystalline hand. The accused may now defend themselves. Jinho stepped forward, his heart racing. Everything depended on what he said next. Honored council, I understand your fear. But that fear is based on a mistake. Humans are not the destroyers. We never heard of them until 3 days ago. He gestured to Hana, who activated a holographic display. This is human DNA, Hana explained, showing complex molecular structures. We have traced our evolution back millions of years. We evolved from simple organisms in Earth's oceans. Our ancestors were fish, then amphibians, then mammals. This is natural evolution, not genetic engineering. The destroyers were masters of genetic manipulation, Veln countered. They could easily have designed you to appear natural. Then explain this, Tejo said, bringing up new images. These are fossil records from Earth. We have bones from creatures that lived millions of years ago. We can trace the entire path of evolution, generation by generation. Unless the destroyers created millions of years of fake fossils and buried them in the ground, this proves we evolved naturally. Some council members looked thoughtful, but others still seemed afraid. Doyun spoke next. We've brought medical records showing human diseases, genetic disorders, and imperfections. If the destroyers designed us, why would they give us cancer? Why would they make us age and die? Why would they give us hundreds of genetic flaws that cause suffering? Perhaps to make you seem more innocent, Veln suggested. That's not logical, Suji said quietly. Then louder, I've been studying the archaeological records of Karen. May I present my findings? The council leader nodded. Suji was nervous, but her voice grew stronger as she spoke. For the past 3 days, I've been analyzing the technology that was found buried on Earth, the technology that taught humans how to travel faster than light. Everyone assumed it was destroyer technology left behind as some kind of trap. She brought up images of the ancient device. But I've compared it to records of destroyer technology in the archives. It doesn't match. The design is completely different. In fact, it matches something else. New images appeared, showing similar devices. This is Velnar Coalition technology, the same coalition that defeated the destroyers. The chamber went silent. I believe what we found on Earth wasn't destroyer technology at all, Suji continued, her excitement growing. It was a weapon, a doomsday device planted by the Velnar Coalition. Explain, the council leader commanded. Suji took a deep breath. After the coalition destroyed Karen's surface, they were afraid the destroyers might somehow return. So they buried a massive bomb deep in the planet's core. It was designed to detonate if destroyer DNA was ever detected on the surface. She showed technical diagrams. The device we found wasn't teaching us how to build FTL drives. It was a control mechanism for the bomb. But look what happened when my colleague, Dr. Hana, first touched it. A video played, showing Hana's first contact with the ancient device 10 years ago. The moment her hand touched it, the device's lights changed from red to green. It scanned her DNA, Suji explained, and when it found that she wasn't a destroyer, it deactivated the bomb. Then it repurposed itself, giving humanity the gift of space travel instead of death. The implications washed over the chamber like a wave. "Don't you see?" Suji said, looking around at all the alien faces. "The Velnar Coalition built a test into their weapon. If destroyers ever returned to Karen, the bomb would destroy them. But if new life evolved naturally, innocent life with no connection to the destroyers, the weapon would recognize that and shut itself down. The weapon chose to spare humanity," Hana added. "It gave us FTL technology as a gift because we passed the test. We proved we weren't destroyers simply by existing." Veln shook his head. "This is speculation. You can't prove the device worked that way." "Actually, we can," Taiho said. He brought up the device's code, the programming that controlled it. "I've been analyzing this for 3 days. Right here in the core programming, there's a DNA scanner. And here's the decision tree. If destroyer DNA detected, activate bomb. If non-destroyer DNA detected, deactivate bomb and initiate gift protocol." The evidence was clear, displayed for all to see. "The Velnar Coalition thought of everything," Suji said. "They destroyed Karen, but they also knew that planets can heal. They knew that, given enough time, life might evolve again. So they made sure their weapon could tell the difference between the return of evil and the birth of something new." Mirren stood up from her seat in the council. "I remember now. My grandmother told me about this. She said the coalition's leaders debated for years about what to do with Karen. Some wanted to destroy it completely, but others argued that no world was beyond redemption. They compromised by creating a guardian device that would judge any future inhabitants." 50,000 years, Jinho said softly. "That's how long it took for Karen to heal. The coalition pushed the planet away, yes, but eventually it found a new orbit around our sun. The atmosphere regenerated, water returned, and slowly, carefully, life began again. Simple bacteria at first, then more complex organisms. Eventually, humans." He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of as many council members as he could. "We are not the children of the destroyers. We are the children of Earth, a planet that refused to stay dead. We are proof that even the worst places can heal, that even the darkest history can give birth to a new future." "How poetic," Veln said with scorn. "But poetry is not proof. Yes, perhaps you evolved naturally. Perhaps the weapons spared you, but that doesn't prove you're not dangerous. The destroyers were once a young species too, before they became monsters. How do we know you won't follow the same path?" It was a good question, and Jinho didn't have a good answer. The council leader spoke. "This debate could continue forever. We need a definitive way to judge whether humanity is worthy of council membership or whether they represent a threat." The crystal being paused. "I propose we invoke the trials of origin." The entire chamber erupted in shock. Aliens shouted in hundreds of languages. Some seemed excited, others horrified. "The trials," Veln said, stunned. "They haven't been used in 10,000 years." "Because no species has needed them," the council leader said. "But these are extraordinary circumstances. The trials were designed to test species during the war against the destroyers. They measure not just intelligence or strength, but character, compassion, wisdom, courage, unity, the very qualities the destroyers lacked." Mirren nodded slowly. "It is appropriate. If humanity can pass the trials, they prove they are nothing like the destroyers. If they fail, she didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. The council leader looked down at Jinho. Captain Jinho of Earth, do you accept the trials of origin? Be warned, they are extremely difficult. Many species have died attempting them. Jinho looked at his crew. Hana gave him a small nod. Taiho straightened his shoulders. One by one, each of them signaled their agreement. We accept, Jinho said firmly. We'll prove that humanity deserves to exist. Then it is decided, the council leader announced. Let the trials begin. The first trial began immediately. The humans were brought to a simulation chamber, a vast room where holographic technology could create any environment imaginable. As they entered, the walls disappeared, replaced by the darkness of space. Stars surrounded them in all directions. The trial of compassion, a voice announced through speakers. A ship in distress has sent out an emergency signal. You must respond. Suddenly, a vessel appeared in the distance. It was badly damaged, with fires burning across its hull. The design was strange, covered in sharp angles and aggressive-looking weapons. That's a Krell ship, Hana said, checking her database. The Krell fought against the Velnar coalition during the war with the destroyers. They sided with the enemy. So they're our enemies? Minho asked, confused. They were, 50,000 years ago, Jinho said. But that was long before humans even existed. The distress signal grew stronger. Through the Harmony sensors, they could detect life signs aboard the damaged vessel. About 30 Krell, many of them injured. The ship's engines were failing. In an hour, maybe less, it would explode. We can save them, Nari said, studying the sensor readings. But it would use up most of our fuel. We'd barely have enough to get back to the station. And the Krell hate outsiders, Taiho added, reading from the database. They might attack us if we try to help. This is the test, Suji said quietly. Do we help our enemies when they need it? Jinho didn't hesitate. Nari, take us alongside their ship. Taiho, prepare the rescue equipment. We're saving them. Even though they might attack us? Minho asked. Especially then, Jinho said. Compassion isn't real if it's only for people who are nice to you. They brought the Harmony close to the Krell ship. Taiho and Minho suited up and crossed over carrying medical supplies. The Krell inside were indeed hostile at first, pointing weapons at them despite being injured. But when Doyen began treating their wounds, asking nothing in return, their suspicions slowly faded. It took 3 hours to evacuate all the Krell before their ship exploded. As the last survivor came aboard, the simulation ended. Trial of compassion. Passed, the voice announced. The second trial was different. They found themselves in a peaceful room with a single pedestal in the center. On it sat a small device with a glowing screen. The trial of wisdom, the voice said. Before you is a mathematical proof that has stumped civilizations for millennia. Solve it, and you pass. Hana approached the device. The problem appeared on the screen and she gasped. This is incredible. It's a resource allocation problem, but on a galactic scale. For hours, she worked on the problem with Suji's help. The others tried to understand it, but the mathematics was beyond them. The challenge seemed to be about distributing resources across different star systems to maximize overall benefit. I found a solution, Hana finally said, but she frowned. But it feels wrong. What do you mean? Jinho asked. The solution requires that some star systems get almost nothing, while others get everything. Mathematically, it produces the highest overall efficiency. But it also means some civilizations would be rich, while others starve. That's the answer, though, Suji said. The math proves it's optimal. Hana stared at the screen for a long moment. Then her eyes widened. No, that's not the real test. The test isn't finding the optimal solution. It's recognizing that some problems shouldn't be optimized. She started working again, this time creating a different solution. This one gave resources more evenly, even though the total efficiency was lower. This answer is mathematically worse, she explained, but it's morally better. Everyone gets enough to survive. No one is left behind. She entered the solution. The device glowed green. Trial of wisdom. Passed. The third trial made Jinho's blood run cold. They stood on the bridge of a holographic spacecraft, but outside the windows was Earth's sun. And orbiting that sun, barely visible against the glare, was a massive dark object. "A destroyer warship," Hana whispered, reading the sensors. "It's been here the whole time, orbiting our sun." "The trial of courage," the voice announced. "Board the derelict vessel and retrieve its navigation logs. Beware, the ship's defense systems are still active." Nari piloted them close to the destroyer ship. It was enormous, bigger than any human building. Its surface was black and covered in strange symbols. Looking at it made Jinho feel sick, like the ship itself was radiating wrongness. "I'll go," Jinho said. "Captain, no," Minho protested. "This is my job." "It's everyone's job," Jinho said. "But I'm going first." He suited up and crossed to the destroyer ship through an airlock. The inside was dark and cold. Emergency lights flickered, casting strange shadows. The corridors were too narrow, too low, designed for beings that were smaller than humans. As Jinho moved deeper into the ship, he started seeing things. Rooms that looked like torture chambers. Walls covered in claw marks where prisoners had tried to escape. Computer logs showing casualty numbers so high they couldn't be real. The defense systems activated. Automated turrets emerged from the walls, firing energy weapons. Jinho ran, his heart pounding, dodging blasts that could have killed him instantly. He found the navigation room and downloaded the logs while weapons fire burned the air around him. Getting out was harder than getting in. The ship seemed to know he was there and was trying to kill him. Jinho barely made it back to the airlock, his suit damaged and his hands shaking. But he had the data. Trial of courage passed. The fourth and final trial was the hardest. The humans found themselves in a simple room with a single door. Above the door, a screen showed two options. "The trial of unity," the voice announced. "Beyond this door is a vault containing destroyer technology, weapons that could make humanity the most powerful species in the galaxy, ships that could cross between galaxies, medical technology that could make you nearly immortal." The screen flickered, showing images of incredible devices. "Or," the voice continued, "you can choose to destroy the vault forever, ensuring this technology never falls into anyone's hands. You must decide unanimously. All 7 must agree, or you fail." For a long moment, no one spoke. "This could change everything for Earth," Taiho said slowly. "We could cure every disease, end poverty, explore the entire universe. With destroyer technology," Hana said, "built on the suffering of billions." "But we could use it for good," Minho argued. "We're not them." "We wouldn't use it to hurt people." "Are you sure?" Suji asked quietly. "Maybe the destroyers thought that too at first. Maybe they started with good intentions and the power corrupted them." Nari shook her head. "I don't trust it. Technology that powerful, built by people that evil, it would change us. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually." "So we just throw it away?" Taiho demanded. "All that knowledge, all those possibilities?" "Yes," Jinho said firmly. "We throw it away." "Captain!" "Think about it," Jinho interrupted. "The destroyers had all this technology, and what did it bring them? They conquered the galaxy and destroyed themselves. Meanwhile, humanity built everything we have from scratch. We struggled, we failed, we learned. That struggle made us who we are." He looked at each of his crew members. "If we take this technology, we skip all the learning. We become powerful without earning it. And power without wisdom is exactly what created the destroyers in the first place." Hana nodded slowly. He's right. We need to do this ourselves the hard way. One by one, the others agreed. Even Taiho, though it clearly pained him. We destroy it, Minho said. All of it. They voted unanimously to destroy the vault. The door sealed permanently, and they heard the sound of explosions as the technology was demolished beyond recovery. Trial of Unity. Passed. The simulation ended. The humans found themselves back in the council chamber, exhausted but alive. The council members stared at them in amazement. They passed, Mirren said, her voice filled with wonder. All 4 trials. They actually passed. Impossible, Veln muttered. No species has passed all 4 trials in 10,000 years. The council leader's crystalline body chimed like a bell. The humans have proven themselves. They showed compassion to their enemies. They chose morality over mathematical optimization. They faced their planet's dark legacy with courage. And they rejected power in favor of maintaining their integrity. The crystal being looked down at Jinho with something that might have been respect. These are not destroyers. These are not even destroyer descendants. These are a new species, born from tragedy but not defined by it. They have proven that Karen is truly dead, and Earth has taken its place. Around the chamber, aliens began standing and making gestures of approval. Not all of them, but enough. I call for a vote, the council leader announced. All in favor of accepting humanity into the Galactic Council? Thousands of lights appeared across the chamber, each one representing a vote. Green for yes, red for no. Jinho held his breath as the votes were counted. Finally, the result appeared. 6,147 in favor, 1,565 against. The motion passes, the council leader declared. Welcome to the Galactic Council, humans of Earth. The chamber erupted in sound. Some aliens cheered, others grumbled, but the decision was made. Humanity had been accepted. Jinho felt tears in his eyes. They had done it. Against all odds, they had proven that Earth deserved to exist among the stars. But as he looked at his crew's tired, relieved faces, he knew this was just the beginning. They had passed the test, but now came the hard part, showing the entire galaxy that humanity's promise was real. The celebration lasted for 3 days. Aliens from across the galaxy sent messages of welcome to humanity. Some were enthusiastic, others cautious, but they were welcoming nonetheless. The military fleets that had surrounded Earth withdrew, replaced by diplomatic vessels eager to establish contact with the newest council members. Jinho and his crew were given quarters in a better part of the station, no longer prisoners but honored guests. Reporters from 100 different worlds wanted interviews. Scientists wanted to study human biology and culture. Traders wanted to establish business relationships. It was overwhelming but also wonderful. On the 3rd day, Jinho stood in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. So many worlds out there. And now humans would be able to visit them all. He thought about Earth, about all the people back home who were probably celebrating right now. Quite a view, said a familiar voice. Jinho turned to see Mirren approaching, walking with her cane. The old counselor settled into a chair beside him. I wanted to thank you, Jinho said, for believing in us when no one else would. I didn't believe in you at first, Mirren admitted. I was as terrified as everyone else. But then I watched you during the trials, and I saw something the galaxy hasn't seen in a very long time. What's that? Hope, Myron said simply. You could have taken the destroyer technology. Most species would have. The temptation of that much power is almost irresistible, but you chose to destroy it instead. Do you know why that matters so much? Jinho shook his head. Because it shows you understand something the destroyers never did, Mirren explained. Real strength isn't about power over others. It's about power over yourself. The ability to say no to temptation. The courage to do what's right even when it's hard. She looked out at the stars. 50,000 years ago, this galaxy was torn apart by war. We won, but we never really healed. We've been living in fear ever since, always watching for the destroyers to return. That fear made us cautious, suspicious, slow to trust. In some ways, the destroyers still controlled us even after they were gone. And now? Jinho asked. Now you've shown us that Karen is truly dead, that the planet which birthed the galaxy's greatest nightmare has become a place of hope instead. If that world can heal, maybe we can too. Before Jinho could respond, Hana rushed onto the observation deck, her eyes bright with excitement. "Captain, you need to see this." She pulled up a holographic display. It showed a star map of the galaxy, with hundreds of points highlighted in red. "What am I looking at?" Jinho asked. After humanity passed the trials, the Council started reviewing old policies, Hana explained. One of those policies was the quarantine list. Worlds that were destroyed during the war with the destroyers and deemed too dangerous to approach. She zoomed in on the map. There are 147 worlds on that list, planets that the destroyers burned just like they burned Karen. For 50,000 years, no one has been allowed to visit them. But if Karen could heal and give birth to new life, then maybe the others could too, Jinho finished, understanding dawning. Exactly. The Council voted this morning to lift the quarantine. They're organizing exploration teams to visit each world and see if life has returned. That's incredible, Jinho said. It gets better, Hana continued, barely able to contain her excitement. They want humans to lead the expeditions. They said that since we understand what it's like to be born from tragedy, we're the best ones to find and contact any new species that might have evolved on these healing worlds. Jinho felt his heart race. This was bigger than just humanity joining the Council. This was a chance to help other species, to turn the destroyer's legacy of death into something beautiful. Over the following weeks, the changes continued to ripple across the galaxy. The Council created a new organization called the Institute for Renewal, dedicated to studying how destroyed worlds could heal over time. Dr. Hana was offered the position of director. She accepted immediately. Taiho was recruited by a coalition of engineering species who wanted to learn about human problem-solving methods. He would travel to different worlds, teaching and learning in equal measure. Nari became an instructor at the Council's Flight Academy, her unconventional piloting style fascinating aliens who had been flying the same way for thousands of years. Suji joined an archaeological team exploring destroyer ruins, helping to piece together the full history of that fallen empire so the galaxy could learn from their mistakes. Minho and Doyun chose to return to Earth to help prepare humanity for its new role in the galaxy. Someone needed to train the next generation of humans who would venture into space. As for Jinho, the Council had a special request. "We would like you to become Earth's first official representative to the Galactic Council," the Council leader said during a private meeting. "Your performance during the trials showed wisdom beyond your years. We need voices like yours in our debates." "I'm honored," Jinho said, "but I'm not sure I'm qualified. I'm just a ship captain." "You're more than that," Mirren said. She had been invited to the meeting as well. "You're someone who faced the worst thing in their history and chose hope over fear. That's exactly what this council needs." Jinho thought about it. He thought about Earth, about all the humans who would follow him to the stars. He thought about the 147 quarantined worlds waiting to be explored, possibly filled with new species who needed someone to believe in them. "I accept," he said finally, "but on one condition." "What's that?" the council leader asked. "Earth stays Earth. We don't hide our history or pretend Karen never existed. We acknowledge that our world has a dark past, but we also celebrate that it found redemption. Because if we hide the truth, We can't help others who need the same redemption." The council leader's crystalline body chimed in approval. "Agreed. In fact, I think that should be part of your official role. You will be humanity's representative, yes, but also the ambassador of renewal. Your mission will be to help the galaxy heal from its ancient wounds." And so it began. Jinho took his seat in the council chamber, the first human to ever sit among the galaxy's leaders. He listened to debates about trade routes and resource allocation, about scientific discoveries and cultural exchanges. When appropriate, he offered Earth's perspective, and slowly, other council members began to listen. The exploration teams returned from the first quarantined worlds with astonishing news. 7 of them showed signs of new life. On 3 planets, intelligent species had evolved, each one completely unaware that their world had once been a battlefield. Each new species was approached carefully, with humans leading the first contact teams. Jinho's crew had proven that beings born on cursed worlds could still be good, and that lesson made the Council more willing to trust these new species. 1 year after humanity's acceptance, the Council held a special ceremony. The 147 quarantined worlds were officially renamed. Karen became Earth in all official records. The other worlds received new names, too, chosen by their new inhabitants or, if they were still lifeless, by the Council as symbols of hope. Jinho stood before the Council and gave a speech that was broadcast across the galaxy. 50,000 years ago, the destroyers nearly ended all life in this galaxy. They believed that strength came from causing suffering, that power meant dominating others. They were wrong. They destroyed themselves and left behind nothing but pain and fear. He paused, letting his words sink in. But life is stubborn. Life finds a way. The worlds they burned have healed. New species have evolved where they tried to ensure nothing would ever live again. And those new species, born from tragedy, understand something important. We are not defined by where we come from. We are defined by what we choose to become. Humanity was born on Karen, the Crucible, the worst place in galactic history. But we chose to become Earth, a place of diversity and beauty and hope. We could have let our world's dark past poison us. Instead, we learned from it. We saw what evil looks like and chose to be better. He looked around the chamber at the thousands of faces watching him. That's the message I want to share with the galaxy. No world is beyond saving. No species is beyond redemption. The darkest night will eventually give way to dawn. And those who are born in darkness often understand light better than anyone else. The chamber was silent for a moment. Then Myron stood up, clapping her scaled hands together. Others joined her, and soon the entire council was on their feet, showing their approval in hundreds of different ways. Later that night, Jinho stood again in the observation deck. Earth was visible now, a blue and green jewel against the darkness. He thought about how far humanity had come, from a species that didn't even know aliens existed to a species that was helping heal an entire galaxy. Hana joined him, carrying 2 drinks from the station's cafe. "Thinking about home?" she asked. "Always," Jinho admitted. "I wonder what our ancestors would think if they could see us now." "I think they'd be proud," Hana said. "We took everything they learned, all their struggles and triumphs, and we're using it to help others." "The Institute for Renewal is doing good work," Jinho said. "How many worlds are you studying now?" 37, Hana replied with a smile. "And we're finding new life on more of them every month. Some of it is simple, just bacteria or plants, but some of it is complex. In another 10,000 years, some of these worlds might develop their own intelligent species." "And they'll never know about the destroyers," Jinho said. "Maybe that's for the best," Hana mused. "Or maybe we'll tell them when they're ready. Show them that even the worst history can be overcome." They stood in comfortable silence, watching Earth turn slowly in the darkness. Somewhere down there, billions of humans were living their lives, most of them not even aware of how close they had come to destruction. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if we'd taken the destroyer technology?" Hana asked quietly. "Sometimes," Jinho admitted. "We could have become so powerful, but we also would have changed. That power would have made us see other species differently, made us think we were superior. Eventually, we might have become what we fought so hard to prove we weren't." "No regrets?" "None," Jinho said firmly. "We made the right choice. We chose to earn our place in the galaxy through our character, not through stolen power. That's something worth being proud of." In the weeks and months that followed, humanity continued to grow into its new role. Human ships explored distant stars. Human scientists worked alongside alien researchers. Human artists shared their culture, and human students learned from civilizations millions of years old. And everywhere humans went, they carried with them the story of Earth. Not a story of shame, but a story of hope. They told other species about the planet that refused to stay dead, about the species that chose compassion over conquest, about the people who proved that redemption was always possible. The galaxy, which had lived in fear for 50,000 years, slowly began to heal. New alliances formed, old enemies reconciled. The Council became more than just a defensive pact against an ancient threat. It became a true community, working together to build a better future. And at the center of it all was Earth, the planet that was once called Karen, the Crucible. The world that had birthed the galaxy's greatest nightmare had become its greatest inspiration. Jinho served as Earth's representative for many years. He watched as more humans joined the Council, as human ideas influenced galactic policy, as the species from the small blue planet became valued members of the cosmic community. On his last day before retirement, he stood once more in the observation deck. Mirren, now ancient beyond measure, sat beside him. "You did well," she said softly. "Better than anyone expected." "We all did," Jinho replied. "Every human who came after us, every species we helped, every world we explored. It wasn't just me." "True," Mirren agreed. "But you started it. You were the first to show the galaxy that Earth was different from Karen. That's a legacy worth being proud of." She stood up slowly, leaning heavily on her cane. "I probably won't live much longer, but I'm glad I lived long enough to see this. To see the galaxy finally let go of its fear and embrace hope instead." "What changed?" Jinho asked. "What made the difference?" Mirren smiled, her yellow eyes twinkling. "You did. When the Galactic Council learned the true name of Earth, terror gripped the galaxy. But you showed us that terror was misplaced. You showed us that even from the darkest soil, beautiful things can grow." She placed a scaled hand on his shoulder. "Thank you, Captain Jinho of Earth. Thank you for giving an old galaxy hope again." As Mirren walked away, Jinho looked out at the stars one last time. Somewhere out there, on 147 different worlds, life was flourishing where death had once reigned. New species were evolving, new cultures were forming, new stories were being written. And it all started because 7 humans refused to be defined by their planet's past. They chose instead to define their future. Earth was no longer the crucible. It was home. It was hope. It was proof that no matter how dark the night, dawn would always come. And that, Jinho thought with a smile, was a legacy worth dying for. Dr. Yuna stood in her laboratory on Luna Research Facility, Earth's largest science base on the moon. She had not slept properly in 5 days. The samples from Kira lay in the analysis machines, revealing secrets that made Yuna's hands shake with excitement. "This is impossible," said Hyun, her colleague. He was a genetic scientist, one of the best on Earth. He stared at the screen showing Valari DNA next to human DNA. "Look at this." The similarity is not just surface level. It goes deep, very deep. Yuna nodded. She adjusted the display to show more details. See here? The basic structure is almost identical. If I didn't know better, I would say Valari and humans are cousins, not different species. Another scientist named Nari walked over. She carried a cup of coffee in each hand and gave one to Yuna. I've been studying their cellular structure. Their cells repair themselves much faster than ours. They can live up to 300 years naturally. But they can't adapt, Yuna said. She took a sip of coffee, grateful for the warmth. That's their weakness. When the radiation hit their planet, their bodies couldn't change to survive it. Humans would have adapted over generations. We're good at that. Hyun pulled up another screen. I've been researching our evolutionary history. Earth was harsh to humanity. Ice ages, diseases, predators, climate changes. Every few thousand years, something tried to kill us. We survived because our DNA is flexible. It changes and adapts. So we're tough, Nari said with a small smile. Humanity's superpower is surviving terrible situations. Exactly, Yuna said. The Valari evolved on a peaceful, stable world. Everything was perfect for millions of years. They became advanced and elegant, but not flexible. When their sun changed, they couldn't handle it. A young man entered the lab. His name was Junho, and he was a computer programmer specializing in artificial intelligence. He looked excited. Dr. Yuna, the simulation is ready. You need to see this. They all moved to Junho's workstation. He had created a program that could predict what would happen if human and Valari DNA combined. On the screen, a model of a hybrid embryo rotated slowly. I ran 10,000 simulations, Junho explained. The results are consistent. If we combine human and Valari genetic material with proper medical support, the success rate is about 43%. That's not great, but it's possible. Yuna studied the model carefully. What about the children? What would they be like? Junho's fingers flew across the keyboard. The model changed, showing a child that was both human and Valari. They would have characteristics of both species. The Valari's advanced neural structure combined with human adaptability. According to the simulation, these children would be smarter than pure humans, live longer, and be highly resistant to radiation. Hybrid vigor, Hyun whispered. When you mix two different genetic lines, sometimes the offspring is stronger than either parent. We see it in plants and animals on Earth. Nari frowned. But there will be failures. The 43% success rate means 57% of attempts will not work. That's a lot of heartbreak for the Valari women who try. Yuna felt the weight of responsibility. We need to be honest with them about that. No false hope. A communication alert sounded. It was Captain Minho from the space station. Yuna accepted the call. Minho's face appeared on the screen, looking serious. Dr. Yuna, the United Council has made their decision. They want a full report from your team before they proceed. How soon can you have it ready? We need 3 more days for complete analysis, Yuna said. You have 2, Minho replied. The political situation on Earth is getting complicated. We need answers fast. After the call ended, Yuna looked at her team. We work through the night. This is too important to rush, but we don't have time to be slow either. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the United Council chambers were full of arguing voices. Leaders from every nation debated what to do about the Valari request. Ambassador Sola, a woman known for her compassion and wisdom, stood at the podium. We cannot ignore this, Sola said firmly. A sentient species is dying. They came to us for help. If we have the ability to save them and we choose not to, what does that say about humanity? General Taiyang stood up. He was a military man, practical and cautious. Ambassador Sola, I understand your feelings, but we must think strategically. The Valari have technology far beyond ours, faster than light travel, advanced medicine, energy systems we can't even understand. If we help them, they should share that technology with us. You want to make them pay for our help? Sola asked, her voice sharp. I want to ensure humanity benefits from this arrangement, Taeyang replied calmly. That's not cruel. That's smart. Senator Doyun stood next. He was older, traditional, and suspicious of anything alien. I say we refuse entirely. We don't know these Valari. They could be lying. This could be a trick to get close to us, to study us, to invade us later. With 847,000 females and no males, Sola shot back. Some invasion force. We don't know their true numbers, Doyun argued. We only have their word. And even if they're telling the truth, think about what they're asking. They want human men to father their children. What rights do these children have? Are they human? Valari? Something else? What culture do they belong to? This will create legal and ethical chaos. The council chamber erupted in more arguments. Some agreed with Sola's compassionate approach. Others supported Taeyang's demand for technology trade. Many sided with Doyun's isolationist fears. Back on Luna, Yuna worked through the night with her team. They discovered something new. Hidden in the Valari genetic code was evidence of deliberate engineering. Someone, long ago, had designed their DNA. Look at this pattern, Hyun said, pointing at the screen. This is not natural evolution, this is design. Yuna examined it closely. Then she pulled up human DNA. Check this. We have similar patterns. Someone designed us too. The Cedars, Junho said. He had been researching ancient theories. Some scientists have theorized that an ancient race spread life across the galaxy. They never found proof until now. This changes everything, Nari breathed. If humans and Valari were both created by the same ancient race, we're not just genetically compatible. We're family. Yuna immediately contacted Captain Minho. When she explained the discovery, his eyes widened. Are you certain? He asked. As certain as we can be, Yuna confirmed. Someone, millions of years ago, planted the seeds of life on both our worlds. They wanted diversity. Earth got harsh conditions, so humans evolved to be tough and adaptable. Valar Prime got perfect conditions, so the Valari evolved to be advanced and peaceful. We were meant to be different sides of the same coin. Minho was quiet for a moment. Does this mean there could be others? Other species from the same cedars? Possibly, Yuna said. We found traces of 3 other genetic signatures in the Valari DNA database. Species that existed but are now gone. We might be the last 2 branches of a much larger family tree. This information reached the United Council within hours. The debate shifted. Some saw it as proof that helping the Valari was humanity's duty. Others became more afraid, wondering what else was out there. On the space station, Kira waited anxiously. Captain Minho found her in the same observation room, watching Earth turn below. Do you know about the Cedars? Minho asked her. Kira turned to him. Yes. We discovered the evidence in our genetic code centuries ago. We've been searching for our sibling species ever since. You are the first living ones we've found. Why didn't you tell us this from the beginning? Because it sounds like a story, Kira said sadly. We needed you to discover it yourselves, through your own science. Only then would you believe it. Minho understood. Trust had to be earned even between cousin species. Kira looked at him with hope and fear mixed in her purple eyes. Will your people help us, Captain? I don't know yet, Minho admitted. But our scientists confirm that it's possible. That's something. Hope is better than nothing, Kira said softly. We've lived on nothing but hope for 47 years. We can wait a little longer. Dr. Yuna finished the report exactly at the deadline. It was comprehensive, honest, and clear. Yes, humans and Valari could reproduce together with medical help. Yes, there were risks and ethical concerns. Yes, the hybrid children would be something new, something neither fully human nor fully Valari. But also, yes, it could save an entire civilization from extinction. The report went to the United Council. Now humanity had to decide. Would they reach out their hand to their dying cousins among the stars? Or would they turn away? The answer would define what kind of species humanity truly was. The United Nations Assembly Hall had never been so full. Every seat was taken. Cameras from around the world broadcast the session live. Billions of people watched as humanity debated its most important decision ever. Ambassador Sola walked to the main podium. She wore a simple blue suit and looked tired. She had been fighting for the Valari cause for 2 weeks now, facing opposition at every turn. Members of the Council, people of Earth, she began. We have all read Dr. Yuna's report. The science is clear. We can help the Valari species survive. The question now is not, can we, but will we? And I believe the answer must be yes. Applause came from one section of the hall. Angry shouts came from another. Sola raised her hand for silence. I know many of you are afraid. Fear is natural when facing the unknown, but we must not let fear make us cruel. A civilization of 847,000 people is dying. They came to us, humbled themselves before us, and asked for help. What we do next will define humanity for all of history. General Taeyang stood up. Ambassador Sola speaks of compassion. I respect that. But I speak of responsibility to our own people. If we help the Valari, we must ensure humanity benefits. They have technology centuries beyond ours, faster than light engines. Medical advances that could cure diseases we still struggle with. Energy systems that could end poverty on Earth. I propose a trade. Our genetic help for their technological knowledge. Senator Doyun jumped to his feet. You're both wrong. We should refuse this entirely. This is not our problem. The Valari made their own choices, built their civilization on a dying star, and now they want us to save them. Why should we? What happens to the children born from this program? Who raises them? Who claims them? This will tear apart families and create conflicts we can't predict. The hall erupted in arguments. People shouted over each other. Some wanted to help freely. Others demanded payment. Many wanted to refuse and protect Earth from alien influence. Captain Minho sat in a special observer section, watching the chaos. Beside him, through a holographic projection, sat Kira. She watched silently, her purple eyes sad but dignified. This is how humans make decisions, Minho said quietly to her. Messy and loud, but eventually we get there. I hope you get there before we run out of time, Kira replied softly. The debate went on for 3 hours. Finally, the council leader called for order. We will hear from the Valari directly. Ambassador Kira, please address the council. Kira's hologram appeared at the main podium. She looked small and fragile, but her voice was clear and strong. People of Earth, I thank you for listening. I know our request is unusual. I know it makes you uncomfortable. If I were in your position, I would feel the same way. She paused, gathering her thoughts. Let me tell you about Theron. He was my bonded partner, the Valari equivalent of a husband. When the radiation sickness began, we didn't understand what was happening. He started forgetting things, simple things, like my name or where our home was. His body weakened. Every day he was less himself. Kira's voice shook slightly, but she continued. I watched him die over 3 years. At the end, he didn't recognize me. He was confused and in pain. The same thing happened to every male in our species. Fathers, brothers, sons, friends, all gone. We had 47 years to grieve and accept it. Now we face our own extinction. The hall was completely silent now. Everyone listened. General Taeyang asked about payment, Kira said. You want our technology. I understand. But I want you to know that we already plan to give you everything. Our entire technological database freely shared. Not because you demand it, but because if you save us, you deserve it. We are not asking for charity. We are asking for partnership. She looked directly at Senator Doyen through the camera. Senator, you asked about the children. Who will they belong to? I can answer that. They will belong to themselves. We propose that every child born through this program will have full citizenship in both civilizations. They will learn both cultures, both languages. They will be bridges between our peoples. As for who raises them, that will be decided by the parents involved, human and Valari together, as equals. Kira's image flickered slightly. I know I am just a hologram to you now. A projection of light and sound. But I am real. My people are real. Our pain is real. Our hope is real. We are not asking you to forget your own needs. We are asking you to help us while also helping yourselves. Together, we can both become stronger. She placed her hand over her heart again. Please, give us a chance to survive. The hologram faded. The assembly hall remained quiet for a long moment. Then something unexpected happened. A young woman named Minji, a security officer from Space Station Harmony 7, stood up in the observer section. She was not supposed to speak, but she did anyway. I've been guarding the Valari visitors for 2 weeks, she said loudly. I've watched them. They are not monsters. They are not invaders. They are people who are scared and desperate. I've seen Kira cry when she thinks no one is looking. I've seen the other Valari comfort each other when the stress gets too much. They are just like us. Security moved toward Minji to escort her out, but Ambassador Sola raised her hand to stop them. Let her speak, Minji continued, her voice passionate. My grandmother always told me that the measure of a person is what they do when someone weaker asks for help. Right now, the Valari are weaker. They need us. If we turn them away, what does that make us? If we demand payment for saving lives, what does that make us? The hall remained silent. Minji sat down, her face red but determined. The council leader called for a vote. All in favor of helping the Valari through the proposed reproductive assistance program, with technology sharing as offered by Ambassador Kira, raise your hand. Hands went up slowly. First a few, then more. Then a wave of them. Ambassador Sola smiled with relief. All opposed? Fewer hands. Senator Doyens was among them, but he was in the minority. The motion passes, the council leader announced. Earth will assist the Valari people. Captain Minho felt relief wash over him. Beside him, Kira's hologram flickered. She was crying, but this time with happiness. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you. Over the next week, Earth began preparing. Dr. Yuna and her team designed the medical protocols. They would need volunteers, both human males and Valari females willing to participate in the program. Junho worked day and night creating a computer system to match participants carefully. It would consider medical compatibility, but also personalities and values. This was not just about genetics. It was about people who would be connected for life through their children. The announcement went out across Earth. Volunteers needed for the Interspecies Reproductive Aid Program. The response shocked everyone. Within 3 days, over 10,000 human men applied. They came from every country, every background, every age group. Hyun, the genetic scientist who had worked with Dr. Yuna, was among them. When Yuna saw his application, she was surprised. Hyun, are you sure about this? She asked him. He nodded seriously. I've spent my whole career studying genetics in a laboratory. This is a chance to actually do something that matters. To help create life instead of just analyzing it. Yes, I'm sure. The Valari volunteers were already decided. Kira submitted her name first. I will not ask others to do what I won't do myself, she said. A young Valari scientist named Arya also volunteered. She was only 70 years old, very young by Valari standards. I never met any males, she told Yuna during her medical screening. They were all dead before I was born. I don't want to die without knowing what it's like to have a family. Medical Station New Hope was built in neutral space between Earth and Velar Prime. It took 2 months to construct, using both human engineering and Velari technology. The station was beautiful, designed with gardens and artwork from both cultures. Dr. Yuna moved to the station to oversee the medical program. Junho came too, bringing his matching algorithms and cultural preservation systems. Captain Minho became the station's administrator, ensuring everything ran smoothly. The first group of volunteers arrived. 50 human men and 50 Velari women. They were nervous, excited, scared, and hopeful all at once. There was a welcome ceremony in the station's main hall. Kira spoke first. "You are all heroes," she told the volunteers. "Not because you are brave warriors, but because you are brave enough to trust, to hope, and to build something new." Then Hyun spoke for the human volunteers. "We're not here out of pity. We're here because we believe in the future. A future where humans and Velari work together, learn from each other, and maybe even become one people someday." Dr. Yuna explained the medical process. It would use artificial wombs with both human and Velari genetic material. The technology was advanced, but the emotional part was harder. Each human volunteer would meet with potential Velari partners. They would talk, get to know each other, and decide together if they wanted to proceed. "This is not just a medical procedure," Yuna stressed. "This is the beginning of families. Treat it with the respect it deserves." The first meetings happened that evening. In small rooms across the station, humans and Velari sat together talking nervously. Some conversations flowed easily, others were awkward. A few decided they weren't compatible and parted politely. But most found connection. Hyun met a Velari woman named Kira during the social event. Not the ambassador Kira, but a teacher named Kira who loved music and art. They talked for 3 hours about culture, beauty, and hope. "I'm nervous," Hyun admitted to her. "I've never been a father before." "I'm terrified," Kira the teacher replied with a small smile. "But maybe we can be terrified together." That night, as the station's lights dimmed to simulate nighttime, Captain Minho stood in the observation deck. He watched the stars and thought about the future. Humanity had made its choice. They had chosen compassion over fear, partnership over isolation. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Medical Station. New Hope hummed with quiet activity. Dr. Yuna walked through the genetics laboratory, checking the artificial wombs that lined one wall. Each one was a clear chamber filled with nutrient fluid, waiting for the hybrid embryos that would grow inside them. "First batch ready in 3 hours," said Nari, who had transferred from Luna to help with the program. She checked her medical tablet. "We have 15 couples ready for the procedure." Yuna nodded. She felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. 15 Velari women and 15 human men had chosen to try. If this failed, it would break their hearts. If it succeeded, it would change 2 civilizations forever. Hyun entered the lab with Kira, the teacher, beside him. They held hands, which made Yuna smile. Over the past month, she had watched many of the volunteers form genuine connections. Some were friendships, some were romances, all were bonds that would last a lifetime. "We're ready," Hyun said. He looked nervous but determined. Kira squeezed his hand. "Whatever happens, we're in this together." The procedure was complex but painless. Genetic material from both human and Velari was carefully combined using advanced techniques. The embryos were then placed in the artificial wombs, where they would develop for 8 months before birth. By the end of the day, 15 embryos floated in their chambers. Yuna and her team monitored them carefully. The first 48 hours were critical. Captain Minho came to the lab late that night. "How's it looking?" Yuna rubbed her tired eyes. "Too early to tell. We'll know more in 2 days." 2 days later, the results came in. Yuna read them with a sinking heart. Of the 15 embryos, only 6 were developing properly. 9 had failed, their genetic structures unable to stabilize. She had to tell the couples. It was the hardest thing she had ever done. In a quiet meeting room, Yuna faced the 9 couples whose attempts had failed. Some of the Valari women cried. Some of the human men looked devastated. Yuna felt tears in her own eyes. "I'm so sorry," she said. "We knew the success rate was only 43%, but knowing the statistics doesn't make this easier. You did nothing wrong. Sometimes biology just doesn't cooperate." A Valari woman named Lena spoke up, her voice shaking. "Can we try again?" "Yes," Yuna said gently. "You can try as many times as you want. We won't give up if you don't." But the 6 successful embryos gave everyone hope. Hyun and Kira were among the lucky ones. Their embryo was developing perfectly, showing strong, vital signs. "It's a girl," Yuna told them with a smile, "healthy and growing." Kira burst into tears and hugged Hyun tightly. He held her, his own eyes wet. "We're going to be parents," he whispered in wonder. Over the next months, 3 more batches of volunteers came to the station. The success rate remained at about 43%, just as the simulations predicted. It was frustrating but consistent. They were learning with each attempt, improving techniques, finding patterns. Then, during a routine scan of the successful embryos, Junho discovered something extraordinary. "Dr. Yuna, look at this," he said urgently. He showed her genetic readings from the developing hybrid children. "Their DNA is doing something we didn't expect. See these sequences here? They're adapting on their own, creating new combinations we didn't program." Yuna studied the data carefully. Her eyes widened. "This is hybrid vigor in action. The combination of human adaptability and Valari advancement is creating something entirely new." They ran more tests. The results were astonishing. The hybrid children were developing enhanced neural structures, more complex than either pure human or pure Valari. Their cells showed incredible resilience to damage. Most remarkably, they were completely immune to the radiation that had killed the Valari males. "These children will be extraordinary," Nari said in awe. "Smarter, stronger, longer-lived than either parent species." But not everyone saw this as good news. A message came from Velar Prime. A group called the Purists, led by a woman named Vena, declared their opposition to the program. They released a statement that spread across both human and Valari communication networks. "We are witnessing the death of the Valari people," Vena's message said. "These hybrid children are not Valari. They are something else. By accepting this program, we are agreeing to our own extinction. Better to die as Valari than to survive as mongrels." The message caused chaos. On Valar Prime, demonstrations erupted. Some Valari supported the Purists, others opposed them. The peaceful civilization was experiencing its first major internal conflict in centuries. Captain Minho called an emergency meeting with all station personnel. "We need to increase security. The Purists might try something." He was right to be worried. 3 days later, alarms blared across Medical Station New Hope. Officer Minji, who headed station security, ran to the command center. "We have unauthorized ships approaching," she reported. "They're Valari vessels, but they're not responding to our hails." 3 small ships docked forcibly with the station. Armed Valari emerged, led by Vena herself. They weren't carrying lethal weapons, but they had devices that could disable systems. "We're here to stop this abomination," Vena announced as she entered the main corridor. "Those embryos must be destroyed before it's too late." Minji and her security team blocked their path. "You need to leave. Now." "Stand aside, human," Vena said. Her purple eyes blazed with conviction. "This doesn't concern you. This is about the soul of the Valari people." "Those embryos contain human DNA too," Minji replied calmly. That makes it my concern. You want to destroy children. I can't allow that. A standoff developed. The purists tried to push forward. Security held firm. For a tense moment, violence seemed inevitable. Then Ambassador Kira appeared. She had been resting in her quarters, her pregnancy in the 5th month now, her belly showing a small curve. "Vina," Kira said quietly, "please, talk to me." Vina turned to face her. There were tears on her face. "Kira, you of all people should understand. You were bonded to Theron. You knew what it meant to be Valari. How can you betray that?" "I'm not betraying it," Kira said gently. "I'm saving it. The Valari will not die. They will transform. Is that so terrible?" "Yes," Vina shouted. "We will lose everything that makes us who we are. Our culture, our identity, our very essence. These children will be neither Valari nor human. They will be lost." Kira walked closer, unafraid. She placed her hand on her belly. "This child carries Theron's legacy. Not his genes, but his spirit. The Valari value wisdom, beauty, and peace. I will teach my daughter those values. So will Hyun. She will be Valari in her heart, even if her DNA is mixed." "Words," Vina said bitterly. "Just pretty words." "Then let me show you something," Kira said. She gestured to the medical lab. "Come, see the children. Not as an enemy, but as someone who cares about our future." Vina hesitated, then followed. The other purists came too, with security watching them carefully. In the lab, Yuna showed them the developing embryos. On screens, they could see the tiny hybrid children floating peacefully in their chambers. They looked both human and Valari, beautiful in their own unique way. "See this one?" Yuna said, pointing to Kira and Hyun's daughter. "She already responds to music. When Kira sings to her, her heartbeat becomes calm and steady. She knows her mother's voice." Vena stared at the embryo. Her expression softened slightly. Junho pulled up projections of what the children would look like when born. Some had more human features, some had more Valari features. All were unique and lovely. "We've created a cultural program," Junho explained. "Every child will learn both Valari and human languages from birth. They will study both histories, both arts, both philosophies. They will be bridges, not replacements." Arya, the young Valari scientist, spoke up. She was also pregnant now, her embryo 3 months along. "Vena, I never met a Valari male. They were all dead before I was born. This is my only chance to have a family. Please don't take that from me." Vena looked at all the pregnant Valari women in the room. Then she looked at the human men standing beside them, protective and proud. "You really love them," Vena said quietly. "The humans. You've bonded with them." "Yes," Kira said simply. "Hyun is my partner, just as Theron was. Different, but no less meaningful." Vena stood silently for a long time. Then slowly, she knelt down in front of the artificial womb containing Kira's daughter. She placed her hand on the clear surface. "Forgive me," she whispered. "I was afraid. I'm still afraid. But maybe you are the future after all." She stood up and looked at her fellow purists. "We're leaving. Stand down." As they returned to their ships, Vena stopped by Kira. "If your daughter needs teachers in Valari history and culture, call me. I may not like this situation, but I won't let our heritage die either." Kira smiled. "Thank you, Vena. That means more than you know." After the purists left, the station slowly returned to normal. But the incident had shaken everyone. They realized how fragile this new peace was. That night, Dr. Yuna sat in her quarters, exhausted. There was a knock at her door. It was Hyun. "I wanted to thank you," he said, "for everything you've done, for believing this could work." Yuna smiled tiredly. The hard part is just beginning. These children will face challenges we can't even imagine yet. They'll be caught between two worlds. Then we'll teach them to build a bridge between those worlds, Hyun said. That's what parents do. We prepare our children for the future. 3 months later, the first hybrid children were born. 3 healthy babies crying loudly as they took their first breaths. They had features of both species, unique and beautiful. Hyun and Kira's daughter was among them. They named her Stella, meaning star in Latin. She had Kira's purple eyes and Hyun's dark hair. When she looked at her parents, she seemed to study them with unusual intelligence. "Hello, Stella," Kira whispered, holding her daughter for the first time. "Welcome to the universe. You're going to do amazing things." Stella grabbed her mother's finger with a tiny hand and held on tight. The future had arrived. 5 years passed like a dream. Captain Minho stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, the first permanent colony built jointly by humans and Valari. He was older now, his hair showing gray at the temples. He had retired from active Space Command to become the station's governor, helping guide the new mixed society that was forming. Below him, through the transparent floor, he could see a school classroom. Human and Valari children sat together, learning mathematics from a Valari teacher. In the next room, hybrid children practiced both human sports and Valari meditation techniques. The program had succeeded beyond anyone's hopes. Over 200,000 hybrid children had been born in the past 5 years. The success rate had improved to 67% as Dr. Yuna's team refined their techniques. The Valari species was no longer dying. It was transforming. A door opened behind Minho. Dr. Yuna entered, looking much happier than she had 5 years ago. The stress lines on her face had softened. She had won the Nobel Prize and the Valari Wisdom Star, the highest honors from both civilizations. "The latest genetic studies are complete," she said, handing him a tablet. "The second-generation hybrid children show even more enhanced traits. Their immune systems are incredible. They're resistant to diseases that affect both humans and Valari." Minho read the report with satisfaction. "Evolution in action." "Guided evolution," Yuna corrected with a smile. "We're helping nature along." The door opened again. This time it was Hyun and Kira holding hands. Their daughter Stella walked between them, 5 years old now and full of energy. She had grown into a beautiful child with purple eyes, dark hair, and a smile that could light up a room. "Uncle Minho!" Stella ran to him and hugged his legs. She called him uncle even though they weren't related. She called everyone uncle or aunt. The hybrid children had adopted humans and Valari equally as extended family. "Hello, Stella," Minho said warmly. "Shouldn't you be in school?" "Teacher let us out early for the ceremony," Stella said. She spoke perfect Korean and Valari, switching between them naturally. Minho had forgotten. Today was the signing of the Covenant of Shared Future, the official treaty that would unite Earth and Valar Prime as allied civilizations. The ceremony took place in the main assembly hall. Leaders from Earth and Valar Prime attended in person. Ambassador Sola represented Earth. Lyra, the Valari Supreme Council leader, represented Valar Prime. Both were older now, but still passionate about the alliance they had helped create. 5 years ago, we were 2 separate peoples, Sola said in her speech. Today, we are one family. Our children play together, learn together, and will build the future together. Lyra spoke next, her musical voice carrying across the hall. The Valari were dying. Humanity saved us. But in saving us, you also changed us. We are not the same people we were. We are better. The treaty was signed with both traditional human pens and Valari light markers. It established free movement between worlds, shared technology, combined defense, and equal rights for all citizens of both civilizations. After the ceremony, there was a celebration. Human food and Valari cuisine were served side by side. Music from both cultures played. People danced and laughed. Junho found Minho in the crowd. The young programmer had become famous for his cultural preservation system. Every hybrid child grew up learning both heritages equally, never forgetting where they came from. "I have something to show you," Junho said excitedly. He pulled up a hologram on his portable device. "We've been analyzing data from the Valari genetic database. Remember the evidence of other species created by the Cedars?" Minho nodded. "The ancient race that designed both our peoples." "We found coordinates," Junho said. "Locations of 3 other star systems where Cedar genetic markers were detected. They're far away, but with combined human Valari FTL technology, we could reach them in 3 years." "You think there might be other civilizations out there? Other cousins?" "Maybe," Junho said. "Or maybe just ruins. But we have to look. The Cedars wanted diversity across the galaxy. We should find out why." Minho considered this. "Bring it up at the next council meeting. If we're going to explore the galaxy, we should do it together." Across the hall, Vina stood quietly in a corner. The former purist leader had changed dramatically over 5 years. She now taught Valari history and culture to hybrid children, making sure they understood their heritage. She watched Stella and the other children with a mixture of sadness and pride. Kira approached her. "Thank you for coming, Vena." "I almost didn't," Vena admitted. "I'm still not sure I was wrong to be afraid. These children are not purely Valari." "No," Kira agreed, "but they are partly Valari. That's enough. They will carry our wisdom forward, mixed with human courage. Maybe that combination is better than either alone." Vina was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled slightly. "Stella called me grandmother last week. She knows I'm not actually related to her, but she doesn't care." "She has a big heart," Kira said, "both human and Valari." The celebration continued into the night. At one point, young Stella stood up on a chair and asked for everyone's attention. The room quieted. "I have something to say," Stella announced in her clear, confident voice. "My teacher asked us what we want to be when we grow up. I know what I want to be." Everyone listened. Even the adults were curious. "I want to be an explorer," Stella said. "I want to find the other people the Cedars made. I want to bring them together like humans and Valari came together. I want to build a family across all the stars." The room erupted in applause. Hyun and Kira looked at their daughter with pure pride. Later that night, after Stella had gone to bed, the adults sat together in a quiet lounge. Minho, Yuna, Hyun, Kira, Junho, Nari, Minji, and several others who had been there from the beginning. "We did it," Nari said softly. "We actually did it. We saved a species and created something new." "We created hope," Yuna corrected. "The children are just the beginning." Minji raised a glass. "To the future, however strange it becomes." They all raised their glasses and drank. 3 months later, plans for the first joint exploration mission were announced. A fleet of ships, crewed by humans, Valari, and hybrid children old enough to serve, would travel to the coordinates Junho had discovered. They would search for other Cedar civilizations. Stella was too young to go, but she watched the preparations with fascination. "Someday," she told her parents, "I'll go too. I'll find them all." "I believe you will," Hyun said, ruffling her hair. The exploration fleet launched on a bright morning. Thousands gathered to watch. The ships were beautiful, combining human engineering practicality with Valari aesthetic grace. They rose into the sky and disappeared among the stars. On Valor Prime, something remarkable was happening. With the hybrid children proven immune to the radiation, scientists had developed a treatment based on their genetics. They began cleaning the radiation from the planet's atmosphere. It would take decades, but eventually, Valar Prime would be safe again. We might be able to go home, Lyra said to Kira during a private conversation. Truly home, not just to visit, but to live. Home, Kira repeated thoughtfully. She looked at Earth on a view screen, then at a picture of Valar Prime on the wall. I have 2 homes now. Stella has 2 homes. Maybe that's the point. We don't have to choose. Earth and Valar Prime became true partners. Technology flowed both ways. Humans gained advanced medicine and faster-than-light travel. Valari gained genetic diversity and adaptability treatments. Both civilizations grew stronger. The hybrid children grew up as the first generation of a new people. They were called the Stellari, named after the first child born, Stella. They belonged to neither species and both species simultaneously. They became diplomats, scientists, artists, and explorers. They built bridges wherever they went. 10 years after first contact, Stella stood before the joint assembly. She was 15 now, tall and graceful, with her mother's purple eyes and her father's determination. She had been chosen to represent the Stellari youth. Leaders of Earth and Valar, she said clearly. My generation grew up knowing both your worlds. We learned human courage and Valari wisdom. We are the children of your choice to help each other instead of turning away. She paused, looking at the assembled leaders. The exploration fleet has sent back their first reports. They found ruins on the first planet, evidence of another civilization, extinct for thousands of years. They were like us, created by the Cedars, but they died alone because they never found others. The assembly listened in sad silence. We don't want that to be us, Stella continued. We want to find the other Cedar children who still live. We want to bring them together before it's too late. Will you support us? Will you help us build a family of species across all the stars? The vote was unanimous. Yes, Stella smiled. Thank you. My generation will not waste the gift you gave us, the gift of life, hope, and unity. We will spread it as far as we can reach. As Stella left the podium, Hyun and Kira waited for her. They hugged their daughter tightly. Theron would be proud, Kira whispered. Wherever he is, he's proud. Minho watched from the side. He was very old now, ready to retire completely, but he felt satisfied. He had witnessed something few people in history ever saw. 2 species coming together not in war but in peace, not in conquest but in cooperation. That night, he stood alone on the observation deck one last time. Earth and Valar Prime were both visible from Unity Station, 2 beautiful worlds connected by ships traveling back and forth constantly. The stars stretched out endlessly above him. Somewhere out there, the exploration fleet searched for more Cedar civilizations. Somewhere out there, other peoples waited to be found. Humanity had reached out to the Valari when they were dying. In saving them, humanity had saved itself from isolation. Together, they had become something better than either was alone. The future was bright with possibility. Minho smiled and went to bed. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new discoveries, new wonders. But tonight, he could rest, knowing that humanity had made the right choice. They had chosen compassion. They had chosen hope. They had chosen to reach across the stars with open hands instead of closed fists. And the universe would never be the same.